and welcome to this week's episode of Geek-Minded Fools. My name's Graham.
And I'm Scott.
As usual, we'll begin with a visit to the monkey farm.
Hey, partners, it's time to see what Scott's doing down on his monkey farm.
Indeed, we will. Welcome to my monkey farm. I've taken the keys back. Last week,
It was hijacked.
But it's all right. It's my shit again now.
Back in safe hands.
Back in safe hands. So this week, Mr. Man, I've got some Marvel news. I've got some Alien news, and I've got some arse-faced news.
Oh yes.
So the Russo brothers, who directed Captain America: Winter Soldier, have been confirmed that they are directing Captain America: Civil War title, which I couldn't be any more pleased about because I loved the Winter Soldier. I thought it was brilliant.
Absolutely, fantastic.
I mean, not only that, sir. Not only that, they also are pretty much locked in to direct Avengers: Infinity War parts 1 and 2 as well. Not been confirmed by Marvel that yet, but I think maybe they'll wait and see how Civil War goes. Who knows? But what a great choice! What a great choice! As I say, I thought Winter Soldier was probably it is one of the strongest of the Marvel films. I think it's just a great marriage of superhero and espionage. It's brilliant. Let's see what they do with Civil War. It's going to be a tough title, I think, to put into a film.
Yeah, I'll admit I wasn't a great fan of the series. That's because something happened to my favourite character that I didn't agree with. And I would say didn't agree with to such a ridiculous extent.
Are we not going to reference said happening for fear of spoilers? I think we'll keep it under our hats.
Yeah.
This.
I
mean, those of you who've read the Civil War,
anybody who
story.
wants to know, read Civil War, which will be available in trade paperback, I'm sure.
Yep.
But something happens at the end of issue 2 that flies in the face of everything that a particular character has been about.
Yeah.
And it just made me think, no, hang on, he wouldn't do that. That would not happen. But clearly it put us on the path to eventually this character being rebooted.
Oh, this is all very mysterious, isn't it? I didn't expect this much mystery. I didn't expect this much mystery in my monkey farm this week. Maybe we're going to move on to our next bit of news because...
Tell you what, okay, I'm going to say it.
Go on.
If you don't want to know, then...
Plug your ears now.
Cover your ears now if you don't want to know. Now, obviously, this is a plot point that may not actually be in Captain America: Civil War, but it was such a major part, and the very fact that Marvel have managed to get Spider-Man for this film suggests that they are going to do it, and that is at the end of issue 2 of Civil War. Civil War is effectively a story whereby a superhero registration act has been proposed, whereby some superheroes accidentally kill some people, and it is decided by the government that every superhero shouldn't have a secret identity. They need to register themselves. And this splits the superhero community in twain. And the two sides being led by Captain America and the people who think they should stay secret, and by Tony Stark, Iron Man, as people who are saying that they should register.
Because obviously, famously, at the end of the first Iron Man film, he does give up his secret identity, doesn't he? Right. He don't give a shit.
So it becomes very much a civil war, as is obviously suggested by the title. And what happens is all the heroes take sides behind Captain America and Iron Man, and Peter Parker sides with Iron Man. He thinks that people should have to register. And what Tony Stark says to Peter is, you could really make a difference in this. I want you to reveal your identity. And so at the end of issue 2, Spider-Man goes in front of a press conference, says, you all know me as Spider-Man, and then the last panel is him taking his mask off and saying, but my name is actually Peter Parker and I'm a photographer for the Daily Bugle. Now, all that does is put a massive target on the back of not only Peter Parker and Spider-Man, but everybody he knows and loves, and including Aunt May. And it's through that Aunt May gets shot and she's at death's door, and that then leads to the fact that Spider-Man has to make the deal with Mephisto. That means that him and MJ were never married, and
it was the start of a very, very horrible experience.
Absolutely. To me, Spider-Man would never do that. He would never unmask in public. The whole point of him was protecting his secret identity in order to protect the people that he loved. And therefore, for him, for such a ridiculous reason, to stand up and unmask in public and put a target on the back of everyone he cares about, I didn't buy it.
Let's see how they handle it in the film universe, eh?
But spoiler over.
Spoiler over, yeah. They, I believe they've started throwing around a few rumours for casting for the new Spidey, and it looks like they're going for quite a young actor this time.
I think they
between
should.
the age of 16 and 20, so
okay.
That's all groovy. We like that.
Yeah.
Next up, sir, my continuing love affair with all things Neil Blomkamp.
Okay.
Keeps having its fire fed. Michael Biehn is coming back for Neil Blomkamp's Alien movie.
Really?
Oh,
Hicks.
yeah. Hicks is back.
Hicks is back.
Hicks is back. So,
60-year-old Hicks.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know, I didn't think of that. I didn't think of that at all. But don't worry about that. Don't worry. I think he's probably going to be
CGI.
scarred.
Oh, scarred.
He's going to have some sort of alien blood acid scar thing. So that's probably how they'll get around that. But what great news. What brilliant, brilliant, brilliant news. I mean, Hicks as a character is a great character. It's a shame that they wrote him and Newt and a few other characters out when we got to Alien 3.
Well, there was only 3 of them survived, which was Ripley, Hicks and Newt. Obviously, Bishop was in pieces.
Yeah. Just shouldn't have been done like that. It should, he was too good a character to get rid of that early on, I think.
Well, they both were. I mean, I've said so many times when we've been podcasting, but Hicks, Ripley and Newt formed this sort of family unit, and the whole thing was about Ripley feeling the loss of her daughter, because when she came out of suspended animation, she'd been in there so long that her daughter had died.
Yeah.
And Amanda.
Yeah.
And so, she was broken-hearted, and therefore Newt became very much a surrogate daughter for her, and that's why saving her was so important. But Hicks as well, the whole take the tracker, it doesn't mean we're engaged. There was this sort of flirtatious relationship, and it was like the 3 of them surviving was their family unit. Mother, father, daughter.
Yes, very much so.
And so for 2/3 of that family unit to not even make it past the titles of Alien 3 was a bit crazy.
A bit disrespectful.
But thank you, Neil.
Thanks, Neil Blomkamp. You can do no wrong in my eyes at the moment. You really, really can't. We all know this is going to follow on directly from Aliens, as we've previously said, and Blomkamp's also said that he has a title in mind for his Alien flick, but he's not going to give it away right now because he feels that it's going to just give you too much of the story by knowing the title.
Okay.
So with that in mind, I wonder what it's called.
I think it's probably going to be called Aliens, Let's Pretend That Those Last 2 Piles of Shit Didn't Exist.
Yeah, or Aliens Retcon. Maybe.
Yes.
That would be a nice simplified title. But yeah, exciting times for Alien fans, and for me, the UK's premier #1 Neil Blomkamp fan club member of the own fan club that I've set up.
Indeed.
Yeah. Finally this week, sir, you know how much I love Preacher.
I do, as do I.
Yeah. We love Preacher.
We do love Preacher.
We've met Garth Ennis.
We have.
He's a very nice
man. And Steve Dillon.
We've met them all.
Yes.
The TV show, the long gestating TV show. Yep. Will it be a show? Will it be a film? It's finally looks like the wheels are getting in motion. Goldberg and Rogan are the showrunners. Sam Caitlin, the Breaking Bad scribe, is to write the initial script and probably will run the show if it's commissioned further than the pilot episode.
And this is on AMC.
This is going to be AMC, who are the guys who brought us the marvellous Walking Dead.
Yep.
News this week, Ian Coletti, who's an actor who I'm not familiar with. He's a young actor, was in apparently a TV show called Rake, which again, I'm not familiar with, has been cast as the character Arseface.
Yes.
Who, the brilliantly named Arseface, reason being, he unfortunately is a bit of a Kurt Cobain fan. I'll leave it up to you guys to work that out if you haven't read it, because I don't want to spoil too much.
No.
Also as well, Ruth Negga has been cast as Tulip, who is kind of Jesse's main squeeze throughout the proceedings. No word yet as to who we've got to play Cassidy or Jesse, although there are rumours that Dominic Cooper could be up for Jesse. Mm-hmm. Find that a little bit odd though, because Jesse I always imagine being quite a tall and wiry character.
Yes, indeed.
But my main reason for bringing this up this week is I want to make a plea to the makers of the Preacher TV show and just say, is this time for us to bring Billy Zane out of retirement? Or semi-retirement, or whatever he's doing? Because I can't think of anyone I'd like to see more playing Hair Star. I really think Billy Zane is the guy. And if this comes to fruition and Billy Zane ends up playing Hair Star, remember where you heard it first.
Nice.
It was my prediction. I think he'd be great as Hair Star. I really do. I like Billy Zane. I like him.
Is that because Billy Zane's now bald?
Yeah, that's right. No, it's because Billy Zane was the best of Biff Tannen's henchmen.
Yes, he was.
There you go, see.
But no, very much looking forward to that. It's something that's been rumoured for a long, long time, and we've been waiting and seeing whether anything's going to happen. And so many people have said, is Preacher actually filmable? And I'd still think they're going to have to change an awful lot of content from the comics, because some of the stuff you just never get away with showing. No. But no, very much looking forward to it. And the fact that people are on the show and things are being cast is a very good sign.
It's all good news.
Let's hope it sticks.
Indeed. Remember, Graham, they did say that The Watchmen wasn't filmable, and I think they pulled that off quite nice.
Albeit by changing quite a lot of it, so yeah.
Yeah, indeed. That, sir, is your lot from my monkey farm this week.
I enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah. Did you enjoy it more or less than last week when you stole it from me?
So, next...
I've got more news!
Next, we're going to be moving on to this week's Quick Hits.
Quick Hits.
Scott, you first.
Oh, me!
Yes.
Okay. Right, my quick hit this week, sir, is something from all the way back in 1986.
Blimey, that's a while ago.
I was 10. How old were you?
Shut up, I was 18.
Right, so yeah, 1986 was a good year for film. It was a good year for
great year for film.
It was a good year for horror films, in particular. Although I'm not sure I would class this as a horror film, but I'm going to anyway, because when I first remember being exposed to it, if you like, was reading copies of a great magazine called Fangoria.
Was it The Goonies?
It wasn't The Goonies, no. It was, sir, the brilliant, and I mean brilliant, The Hitcher.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah, The Hitcher. Rutger Hauer, C. Thomas Howell, being used correctly, not as some construction worker who's going to arrange cranes for a...
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
We'll move on, yeah. Jennifer Jason Leigh, indeed.
Both parts of her. Oh, spoiler!
Oh, you've spoilt it now. This is part of my fucking shit. We'll go on to that later. The Hitcher basically tells the story of Jim Halsey, played by C. Thomas Howell, who has agreed to...
The great C. Thomas Howell.
I love C. Thomas Howell, even in Soul Man.
E.T.'s C. Thomas Howell.
Yeah, oh, he is in E.T., isn't he? Yeah, yes. Yeah.
As one of Biff's henchmen.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. E.T. to the future. Yeah. You've really thrown me. Yeah, C. Thomas Howell, the great C. Thomas Howell, playing Jim Halsey, who has agreed to drive a car state to state.
I believe you brought up Soul Man.
Soul Man, the most
not his finest hour.
That's why I brought it up. People need to see this. This can't be hidden.
They
this
really
shit.
don't.
Soul Man is a fucking awful film, and a terrible premise, and just so racist.
Moving on.
The Hitcher. The Hitcher stars the great C. Thomas Howell, Jim Halsey, who is going coast to coast delivering a car. Along the way, he picks up a hitchhiker, John Ryder. Spelt R-Y-D-E-R, so I wonder if he was related to Sean Ryder. Yeah. Possibly not. I would doubt it. Or Sue Ryder, yeah. Played by Rutger Hauer, who I absolutely adore. I
Can't go wrong,
I just love Rutger Hauer. And you obviously mentioned Jennifer Jason Leigh, who... I think this is when I first started having a crush on Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Fell in love with Jennifer Jason Leigh.
I did indeed. As you said earlier, both parts of her. Which I'll explain that in a moment. It's just a great, great film. What
was that film, the other film she did with Rutger Hauer? The one set in the past in sort of medieval times.
Not The Name of the Rose.
No.
Oh, that wasn't Jennifer Jason Leigh. That was Michelle Pfeiffer, wasn't it?
No. It was
Lady Hawk.
No, not Lady Hawk.
Lady Hawk's a good movie.
No. Isn't it Blood? No. What was it called?
Blood on My Arse. Was it about the same kind of time?
It's called Bloody Hell. 85 or something?
Let's have a look. I'm hoping for you listening at home, this has all been a Breed Apart.
No.
Flesh and Blood.
Flesh and Blood.
That was a fucking terrible film.
Now that's when I had a bit of a crush on Jennifer Jason Leigh.
I've always had a crush on Jennifer Jason Leigh. But I think this was the moment I realised that she was the woman I wanted to marry, but unfortunately never did. Anyway, I digress. The Hitcher.
Because you were 10.
Because I was 10, yeah. I digress. Anyway, I tried to fucking digress. My God, last week he ruins the monkey farm. This week he's just trampling all over my Hitcher. Do you know what? Go and watch The Hitcher. I'm not even going to bother doing the rest of the podcast.
No, come on, the film stars.
The film stars Rutger Hauer, C. Thomas Howell as Jim Halsey. It's about a bloke who picks up another bloke and he escapes said bloke.
And he turns out to be a bit of a nutter.
The hitchhiker tries to kill him. The Hitcher tries to kill Jim Halsey. Halsey escapes, but he then becomes framed for some other crimes that have occurred over the past few days that have been carried out by the Hitcher. It's a great movie. It's kind of a chase movie, kind of a road movie, kind of a horror thriller movie. Mm-hmm. It has, bar none, one of my fave 80s movie scenes, horror movie scenes, which is, spoilers, guys, if you haven't seen The Hitcher. I believe Black Francis from the Pixies references in one of his songs on his solo albums, where he says something along the lines of, "People will tie me between two semi-trucks and tear me asunder." Nice. That's all I'm going to say. All right, but. It's a great movie. It really epitomises all those 80s movies. It was a great time for film then, and Rutger Hauer was in pretty much everything at that time.
Absolutely.
And more power to him for being there. Great movie. Watch The Hitcher.
Yeah, like it.
Right, so even though you massively hijacked that for me, Graham, I'm just going to fill in some of our listeners on some of what I think are some of the more interesting facts about the trivia. Factoids about The Hitcher. C. Thomas Howell, the great C. Thomas Howell, who played Jim Halsey. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier on 3 or 4 times. Stated that he was absolutely petrified of Rutger Hauer on and off set, purely for the fact that Hauer stayed in character throughout. I love it when actors do that.
I love that man.
Eric Red, the guy who wrote The Hitcher, has stated that the character John Ryder is based. And the film itself is based solely on the Doors song, Riders on the Storm.
Okay.
Which I really like as well. One final thing of note that I will say is the original script was actually long enough to make a 3.5-hour film. I'd love to see all the stuff that they didn't actually... I really would. I'd love to see a 3-hour version of it, because it's one of those films that is very, very short and sweet.
Right.
Yet all the
How
while
long is it?
It's probably an hour and a half tops.
Hour and 40 or something?
Hour and 40 tops. But the fact of the matter is, even though it is a short film, it's really tense all the way through.
It is, very much
Rutger Hauer just plays a brilliant, brilliant psycho. They did unfortunately do a sequel of this called The Hitcher 2, I've Been Waiting, with the brilliant Jake Busey. I like Jake Busey, but don't bother watching The Hitcher 2. It's a bunch of arse and far too long to wait to put a sequel for this particular movie out. But yeah, at 97 minutes, well worth a watch.
Super.
What have you got? And I promise I won't trample all over your quick hit.
My quick hit this episode is a fantastic original graphic novel written by DC favourite Jeff Johns with art by Brit Gary Frank. It is Batman Earth 1.
Oh, nice.
And they did this first with Superman. They did Superman Earth 1, where they went back and, not this creative team I should add, but they went back and reimagined the origin of Superman, and this is very much what they've done in this one. And
are they the only 2 characters that have had this Earth 1 treatment?
I believe so. There may have been another. I'm honestly not too sure. I didn't buy the Superman one. I only bought the Batman one. And what a cracking little tale it is, with great art by Gary Frank, who I'm a big fan of. I think his art is superb. It tells the story of Batman's early career as the Dark Knight, and so starts off with him chasing a crook and firing his bat cable thing, and you can see it explodes, it doesn't work. Everything that's cool and gadgety about Batman doesn't work. It's very much him finding his feet over the first year.
His wonderful toy is not so wonderful.
Tries to jump across between buildings in order to catch a crook and doesn't make it, and just falls straight down to the alley and lands in some garbage. And then it goes back and actually tells the story of the murder of Thomas and Martha Wayne, Bruce's parents, and the introduction of Alfred. And this is Alfred very much from the Gotham TV series. I would say that Alfred in there was
the Royal Marine.
Very much, absolutely. And he turns up, and through an injury he got as a Marine, he's got a bum leg, so he's walking on a stick. And Thomas Wayne is actually running for mayor and is pretty much odds on to win, and decides that even though there's lots of vote counting going on and lots happening, he wants to take his son to the cinema and have a bit of a normal evening. And of course the fateful night where the two of them get shot, and Bruce then goes home, and the only person there is the person who just happened to show up just before they left in order to see his friend, and that's Alfred Pennyworth. And there's a lovely little scene at the table where Bruce is sat at the table and Alfred comes in and sits down, and Bruce is looking dishevelled, and Alfred just says, "Look, Bruce, you have to eat something." And Bruce just looks and says, "Who the hell are you?" And Alfred just looks really sad and just says, "I'm your butler."
Nice.
And that's when Alfred takes on the role, and it's effectively about the establishment of a young Jim Gordon. It's a very... Who do you think that is?
Harvey Dent.
No, it's Harvey Bullock.
Oh, I got the first name right. Harvey Bullock, looking quite dapper.
Quite dapper, and
he's normally portrayed as quite slovenly, isn't he?
Well, he is, but this is early Harvey Bullock before he becomes corrupt and slovenly.
Before the rot had set in.
He's actually the goody two shoes, and Jim Gordon's sort of giving him stick for being so uptight about things,
being a bit too Peter Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it goes on to Batman's early days and sort of how the gadgets start to happen, and he's going after the Penguin. And it is just a wonderfully written, beautifully drawn book. I don't know how many pages it is, but it's a fair chunk. You know, that will take you a good 20 minutes, half hour to read.
Shares a birthday with me as well.
Who does?
The book was released on July 4th, 2012.
There you go.
So, yeah.
And the good news is there is a sequel coming. At the start of May this year, Batman Earth 1 Volume 2 will be coming out, which...
got postponed from... supposed to be released in 2013, apparently.
Oh, was it? Okay.
But yeah, they postponed it. It should be coming out very soon.
Yes. It is just a nice reimagining of the Batman story, just changing some aspects of it just to make it a bit different, and keep the story on its toes. It is a nice fresh look at it. And so that's Batman Earth 1, written by Jeff Johns, art by Gary Frank. Have a look. I think you'll like it if you're a Batman fan, and probably if you're not,
you will be.
Yes.
Nice. Nicely nice.
Okay, now we shall move on to this episode's main topic.
When they got the ball, you know they won't drop it. The Geek-Minded fools discuss the main topic.
This is definitely a great time for geeks in terms of not only movies but also TV shows. There's a hell of a lot of stuff out there. Obviously, we've discussed stuff previously, but you can barely turn on the TV these days without a TV show that's based on a comic book or a film. And we just thought we'd talk about a couple of those. One of which is 12 Monkeys, based on the Terry Gilliam film, which is nearing its end, I think, in the States, but we're still quite early on in the run over here. And the second one is Constantine, based obviously on the DC Comics character, which has been up on Amazon Prime for a while, but we just thought we'll
have a little natter about it.
Have a chat about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean...
so, what do you want to start with?
Well, sir, I'm going to start with what I know. I'm going to start with Constantine. Now, we've spoken briefly previous to this podcast, and as everyone surely should know by now from listening... You're the comic man. I'm the movie man.
Yep.
I'm the film man. I'm the TV man. That's how I like to.
I'm the TV man.
Yeah,
too.
no, but that's how I like to imbibe my entertainment.
Yes.
Right, rather than flicking through pages, which is what you do. So now you will be familiar with Hellblazer, where Constantine comes from, and you will have read this when it was first out, I imagine.
No,
you didn't.
I
okay.
mean, John Constantine first appeared in Swamp Thing.
Oh, right, so it wasn't Hellblazer then?
Back in the day. No, John Constantine was created by Alan Moore as part of his Swamp Thing run.
Okay.
And only then became, sort of had his own title, Hellblazer, which very quickly became part of the DC Vertigo imprint, and was actually the longest running Vertigo title that DC had. And I didn't start reading it from the beginning. I came on board probably midway through the Garth Ennis run, and read it for quite a while. And yeah, basically he's just a git. He's a guy who has magic powers but doesn't like to use them. Yeah. He would rather trick his way out.
He's au fait with the dark arts.
Absolutely, but he would rather trick his way out of a situation than actually use his powers.
Yeah.
He feels that he's very much cursed. He feels that anybody who gets close to him dies, which is something that he's very aware of. And but yeah, just a very interesting layered character. I know the word is overused, but very much an anti-hero, someone that we're rooting for but don't always like and don't always agree with every decision he makes.
Probably my first exposure to the character was the really quite awful Keanu Reeves film.
Yes.
in which they inexplicably had Keanu Reeves playing a blonde Liverpudlian, although he's not blonde and he's not Liverpudlian.
Indeed, he's not.
At least they've got that right in this. And I like the guy who's playing him.
What, Welsh Matt Ryan?
I think he does a passable Scouse accent.
You think so?
Do you not?
Every so often he deliberately throws a vowel here and there to make it sound a bit more Scouse, but he is Welsh and you can hear he's Welsh.
Do you know, I thought he was Irish.
Okay.
I realised he definitely wasn't a Scouse, but at least
he's Welsh and he sounds Welsh, but occasionally he will roll an R to make himself sound a bit more like he's.
And he does use the word love a lot, which I like. But he's closer.
But that was very much from the comics.
He's a closer representation of the character than the Keanu Reeves version.
Hugely, both in look and in action.
Although he does, the Keanu Reeves version does get a little mention in the TV show at one stage. He alludes to the fact that there are alternate universes where there's probably somewhere in New York a dark-haired Constantine sitting around trying to give up smoking, which I like. The show as a whole, not being overly familiar with the comic book, I really enjoyed it. I found it very, very easy to watch it. I found Matt Ryan extraordinarily watchable. He is good. In the pilot episode, well. I mean, as you said, let's try not to overuse the whole anti-hero moniker, but he very much is an anti-hero, and I hated him in the first episode. Really hated it. It was only when I got to the end of the episodes I kind of thought, I'm supposed to kind of not be sure how to feel about you, but. Yeah. I really like it. I really, really like it.
You don't have to like him, you just need to root for him.
Yeah, indeed. I like the situations he gets put into. I like the rest of the cast are really, really, really watchable. A particular Charles Halford who plays Chaz, who's Chaz Chandler, obviously not the manager of, not Jimi Hendrix's manager, I assume. It's not who he's supposed to be playing.
Who's his sort of...
It kind of is...
He's kind of lieutenant, he's sort of number two.
Yeah.
The expression.
Yeah, indeed. As on the whole, I mean, it's all.
He can't be killed.
He can't be killed. No, and that does get explained in a few episodes, like further in.
I should point in that Scott has watched the whole thing. I'm only 3 episodes in. Yeah. Because I have other things to do, frankly.
Yeah, quite good, obviously. It is very good. It's all up in the air at the moment as to whether or not it's going to get a second season.
Okay.
I really hope it does, because I think it's one of these shows that can only get better by throwing more at it.
Okay.
I think out of the whole bunch of episodes that have been released, I think there's only been maybe 1 or 2 episodes that have been a little bit meh. Not great. But on the whole, I've really enjoyed it. I think it's been fun. It's been a good ride.
I really liked the first episode. I thought it was very good. I thought the characterisation of Constantine was spot on. I thought they did it really well. From the very beginning, I would say watching it, I had 2 gripes. Mm-hmm. And one of those is the accent. I thought, if you're going to get a Welsh man playing it, then just play him as Welsh. then he would have this Welsh accent, and as I say, would suddenly throw in a little bit of a Scouse accent, and you think you're kind of wandering about the country at the moment. Secondly, and I know this is going to seem like a minor quibble, but that's
what we're here for.
I'm a really petty person.
You are, but that's what we're here for.
And that is, if you're going to wear a tie that low, why bother wearing a tie at all?
Yeah.
If you're going to wear a tie, have it about 2 inches below an open collar. His is literally in the middle of his chest. The knot is in the middle of his chest. If it's that low...
It's a hipster fashion statement.
Don't fucking wear a tie.
Yeah.
It looks ridiculous.
It's almost as if they've taken... I mean, because I've obviously been privy to the artwork of Constantine and Hellblazer, so I know what the character looks like. They've taken some very, very famous images of him, and they've just gone, his tie needs to be like that all the time.
But no, I mean... Even in famous images of him, the tie will, he obviously never does his tie up, but it's 2 or 3 inches below, your top button.
Yeah.
This is literally halfway down his chest. It looks ridiculous. He isn't wearing it as a tie, he's wearing it as a necklace,
Yeah. And he's wearing it as a fashion accessory.
And that, petty though it sounds, every time I saw it, I just think, just pull it up a little bit. We understand that you're making a statement by saying, I don't care what I look like, but that just looks ridiculous. It isn't a tie.
You didn't care what you look like, you wouldn't wear a tie at all, would you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the wardrobe department there have probably obviously gone with a let's make him look as dishevelled as we can, while still looking smart, but maybe not quite pulled it off as well as they could have done. I do agree with you on that, actually. I mean, it's not something that ever make me not watch the show, but wardrobe-wise, yeah, you're right.
And then, like I say, really enjoyed the first episode. Second episode obviously introduced the character Zed, who I'd imagine is going to be a recurring character throughout the rest of the series.
She was written in, I think, because the character in the original one didn't pan out.
Right,
didn't pan out.
But by the third episode, it started to feel a bit baddie of the week. It started to feel, and I don't mean this as a bad thing, but I'm trying to say it started to feel a bit like Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I'll go with that. Yeah,
and now don't get me wrong, I thoroughly enjoyed Buffy, and I watched the whole lot from start to finish. But Buffy the Vampire Slayer was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I expected something a bit different from Constantine. Now, if I didn't know what I know, I wouldn't watch past episode 3. What I know is, having spoken to a friend of mine who's watched the whole thing from start to finish, he said in the mid-season break of sorts, he said the episode ends with something huge and game-changing and something you didn't see coming.
Yeah.
And it's only that's making me go, right, okay, I want to keep on watching so I can find out what that thing is. Yeah. If I didn't know that was coming, I would stop.
I basically let a bunch of episodes build up so I could binge watch them, and I think it's been one of my favourite binge watch little pleasures. It is a great show that you can just kind of sit and really 3 hours can disappear, very easily with Constantine. Constantine or Constantine? Constantine, yes. Yeah, I really, really like it. I like All Involved. I like I do like the chap who's playing Manny as well. I can never pronounce his name. Harold Perrineau
from Lost.
Yeah.
Played Michael in Lost. Yes, indeed.
To a lesser extent,
he's very good. And I love the fact that he comes in and takes over people and has a conversation, then poof, the person's back again. I think that's a very clever plot device.
Yeah, I mean, watching programs like this makes me hopeful for forthcoming things like Preacher. I think they can be done now, but these shows can be made, and they can be made, not to be overly serious, but to enthrall the viewer and to still have a little bit of fun. And that's what I like about this. It's very much, I love the opening titles as well. I love the score to it as well. I think it's a brilliant little score. A good show, Constantine.
Yeah,
I look forward.
I just hope that it moves away from the bad guy of the week setup and and actually develops a bit more of a long-term story. But I would say that for a TV show, bear in mind, TV shows now aren't what they were 20, 30 years ago. They have a lot more money put into them and far greater production values. I was very impressed with the effects.
Yeah.
Particularly in the first one, where you've got the gravel breaking up and then the big hole in the ground and her sort of pulling herself away as the ground's falling away.
Now, is it the first episode with the... it's been a long time since I watched it now, with the van that crashes through the window? How good are those? I don't know what we're going to call them. The demons.
Demons, yeah.
The demons are brilliant, aren't
when
they?
the woman's going,
yeah. If I had to have one gripe about the show, there's not enough of those demons.
Yes,
I want more demons.
Yeah.
It's, I'm a big Evil Dead fan, so
of course
they're very much like the Deadites.
But one thing that did impress me, and I can't remember if it was episode 1 or episode 3. It wasn't 2 because he wasn't in it. But when Constantine's in the van and he stops and the old bloke's there in the rain with the umbrella, and then it turns into Michael Perry, and then he gets out and he's frozen the rain, and he runs his hand through the static raindrops. I mean, what an effect. That was fantastic. And I think to have something like that, that would be impressive if you saw that in a film on the big screen. To have something that good looking on a TV show that's not even on a major network but is sort of done through Amazon. Brilliant, really loved it. I thought that was very, very good.
So on the whole, then, Constantine, regardless of a slightly dodgy accent and some bad wardrobe choices, you're gonna carry on.
Only because I know that there's something shit up coming, and I'm looking forward to that.
It's a good show. It's a good show.
Yes, I shall stick with it. And then 12 Monkeys.
Yeah, I think we're both on the same page with this one. We know as much as
we're up to the same episode. Yeah, absolutely. What do you think?
I'll let you. Should you really? I'm going to let you go first.
No, go on. No.
Okay.
If you've got beef.
Do you know what? I watched the first episode and I thought, I admire what you're doing. I admire how you're veering away from the original course of the film's plot. Has to be done. If you're going to elongate a story, it has to be done, I imagine. I then watched episode 2. Do you know what? I think it's absolute trash.
Okay.
I think it is tosh. I thought that the first episode started really strongly. I can't get away from the fact that Aaron Stanford is Pyro from X-Men 2. I just think it's terrible. Okay. After the first episode... Wow, what a missed opportunity. Please, I'm so sorry that I don't like it, but I just don't.
Tell us more, come on.
I don't think Aaron Stanford is a strong enough actor to lead a TV show. That's my biggest gripe. Mm-hmm. I really like Kirk Acevedo as Jose Ramsey. I think he's very good.
He's always good in everything he's in. You know, he's one of those guys that you see and you think, yeah, I know him, I've seen him before, no idea what he's been in, but he's good. Yeah.
One of the biggest upsets for me is the fact that they've got, to my mind, one of the 80s greatest evil-looking actors, and that's Tom Noonan, playing the character that's referred to as the Pallid Man, who is apparently he's going to be the leader of the Army of the 12 Monkeys.
I guess I could. Because he's the one who's working through and killing people.
That's what it looks like it's leading up to. And of course, Todd Stashwick, who plays a character called Deacon, who I absolutely adore. He was in a TV show called The Riches with Eddie Izzard and Minnie, My Head is Massively Too Big for My Body Driver. He unfortunately always plays a villain, Todd Stashwick, but he's a very good villain. He's probably the only thing that made the other episodes that I've seen worth watching. On the whole, though,
not a fan.
It just comes across as being almost like Terminator, almost like insert name of time travel film here. There's too many time skips.
Right.
2043, 2013, 2015, 2030. Make up your mind. Where are we going to sit? Can we only sit in a couple of timescapes, please, for one episode? Because it gets too confusing. The first episode, really, really good. The rest of it that I've seen so far, I've just thought was...
You didn't like?
Pretty dire.
Let's see, it was interesting because
and I'm going to let you speak now, but trust me, I've got a lot more to say on this.
I came into this with a certain amount of trepidation. I wanted to watch it because it was based on a film that I liked, didn't love, but liked. I thought it was clever.
Whereas I loved the film.
Yeah, I thought, the whole premise that... And they kind of telegraphed it, but Bruce Willis as a young boy, him constantly having dreams about the scene at the airport, and, you always knew that was going to be himself from the future being shot. I kind of thought, where are they going to go with this TV show? Because it's a guy going back and trying to change stuff. And what I think they've done well is having the multiple jumps. I like that. I like the fact that it was in the first 2 episodes when the bad guy, whose name and even face escapes me now, it was quite a while ago I saw it, when they finally get face to face with him and he says, I met you in 1987. It's
Leyland Gwynn.
Yes. And he was, you looked exactly the same. And I think the fact that due to these multiple jumps, he can go back. And therefore the idea is that anything that's happening, he can influence it by having gone back previously. And again, we still don't know why he made that jump to 1987. But clearly something that we're going to see in the future is going to influence that jump. Because Cole had no memory of that jump, so he hadn't done it yet. So clearly something's going to happen further down. He has to go back and do something before that influences it. And that's what I like about it. And I think it was episode 4 when you had the multiple jumps, because you got the backstory of Cole and Ramsey and how they got to be part of Deacon's crew with Max, and therefore how they sort of ended up being on the run and Deacon's crew being after them. But then I sort of like the fact that, and forgive me, I can't remember the name of the woman who Cole works for in 2043.
The Doctor.
Who keeps sending him back. But Deacon and his crew have infiltrated their base, and she basically says, right, we're all going to be killed, but I'm going to send you back one last time so you can try and influence this, so I will never see you again. But because the machine is working when he's been sent back, them shooting at the machine makes it malfunctioning. He only jumps back 2 days.
Yeah.
But that allows him to influence what's going on there, because he gets captured by Deacon's crew. He manages to turn Max, and Max is actually working for him. It is a bit Terminator-esque. But the fact is that when he's on the radio to Ramsey, Ramsey's got all the guys with the guns pointed at him, and then he hears the machine guns go, and he thinks Ramsey's dead. But it turns out that machine gun is the alternative him who jumped back 2 days, killing the guys with the guns. I think that's really clever.
It is clever.
I think the fact that you're jumping, and of course, hardly any of episode 4 took place in 2015. There was literally a slight bit at the start and a slight bit at the end, just to, because they're looking for, is it the dark room or the
night room?
The night room, that's it. To me, that's a clever use of a storytelling device. The fact that you're telling a story in the future over several jumps. You went sort of 2033, 2035. Most of it was told in 2043, but in 2 different aspects of it. And I like that. And I think what they've done is taken the concept of 12 Monkeys, which is this terrible future that somebody needs to go back and change, but having this ability to jump to multiple places in order to affect things just means that suddenly you've got this huge map with so many different timelines on it, because the moment he goes back to a timeline and changes it, that creates an alternate timeline from the one he was jumping back from.
Yeah, I like all the stuff with the...
And I think that's a clever concept, and it's interesting, you saying that the guy who plays Cole isn't a strong enough lead to carry it. I don't think he's the lead. He's like the string that holds everything together, but to me, it's an ensemble piece. I wouldn't say that he's any more the lead than is it Riley?
Cassandra Rayleigh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Than her or Ramsey. You know, to me, they're all equally as important. He is the thread that runs through it all. Like going back to Constantine, Matt Ryan is the star of Constantine. Yeah. I would not say that this guy is the star of 12 Monkeys. You know, he is just one of the pieces on the board. Whereas if you had a shit Constantine, then the whole series,
the whole
falls
TV
apart.
show would just crumble.
Whereas this, I think he's perfectly adequate for the role that he runs, and he also plays it. He plays it very low key. You know, he's sort of quite unemotional about things, and I quite like that.
There's been some great little moments.
He almost seems to underplay every scene.
Yeah, there's a great moment when I can't remember which episode it is, but they go to visit one of Rayleigh's friends or colleagues, and there's a bowl of peanuts on the table. And he's looking at the peanuts and he kind of goes, "Can I have some of those peanuts?" And she's like, "Yeah, of course you can." And he's like, "I'm really hungry." And it's just that is played really, really well.
Yeah.
It's just a shame there weren't more moments played like that between those characters. I think, for me, my main problems with it, okay? There's not, it's not going to be a huge list, but for me they are problems. In the original film, the Army of the 12 Monkeys were literally just an inept group of...
They were idiots.
Yeah, they just happened to be there.
Who actually turned out to be nothing to do with it. Yes.
And that, to me...
They just let the animals loose.
Yeah, that, to me, is the beauty of that film. Is the fact that, you know, you're led to believe that the 12 Monkeys being the title, this is going to be about, you know, these are going to be the bad guys. And in fact, they're not. They're just some schmoes who just happened to be there at that time. And they were very much not the problem.
Yes, that's right. It turns out to be a lone nut job.
Yeah. In this TV show, it appears to me that they're making them out to be very much part of the problem,
the big bad guys, or the problem,
and I don't like that. I think it was much more effective just to have them as a title. You know, they've got to be there, but maybe they've showed their hand too early in the TV show. I mean, maybe it would have been nicer to have seen them being a little bit ineffectual, being a bit rubbish at what they do. I mean, that's something that only time is going to tell for us in the UK with the amount of episodes we've seen.
I think there, with you clearly being such a fan of the film, they would have been damned if they did and damned if they didn't, because the big twist in 12 Monkeys was it wasn't anything to do with the 12 Monkeys.
Yeah.
If they'd have done that in the TV show, then they've shown their hand immediately. You can't take a twist from a film and apply it to a TV show.
No, fair point.
And had they tried to, you'd have said, well, that's fucking stupid because we know that. Whereas because they haven't tried to do it, you'll say, well, that's fucking stupid because they should have done it that way. And I think, therefore, they'd have been damned if they did and damned if they didn't. So,
you are probably right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, secondly, for me, I see no point in recasting the character of Jeffrey Goins as Jennifer Goins. I don't see what they've gained by making the character female. I don't see... I must admit, I really like the fact you first see Jennifer, she's wearing the same jumper that Brad Pitt's wearing. Yeah. I mean, pretty much identical. I really like that. I thought that was a very good nod. But I don't see the point in making her female. I don't know what the TV show is going to gain out of having that character being female. Especially when it seems that they've stayed pretty close to everything else.
Reasonably close. Yes, yeah.
Character-wise.
But again, I think that is...
I mean, she's beautiful, Emily Hampshire. She's great to watch and she's very good.
I'd imagine what they're doing is making it clear that you're not simply watching a rehash of the film. It's like, why did Amazing Spider-Man have Gwen Stacy rather than Mary Jane? Because they wanted to differentiate themselves from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. Why has this got a female Brad Pitt instead of a male Brad Pitt? Because they're trying to distance themselves. And I think sometimes you just make a change for change's sake because you want to say, we aren't that. Don't see us as that. See us as our own thing.
I do have a third and final thing that I will say regarding my dislike for it. Mm-hmm. You know, and I have no doubt that obviously this has already been signed for a second season, so you know, it's happening. It's popular. It's doing well. Mm-hmm. For me, one of the strongest points of the original movie as well was seeing Bruce Willis as Cole struggling with the fact as to whether he believed he was a time traveller.
Was he mad?
Yes. At one point during the film, he's questioning it, and I really like that. You never really... You're on the ride with him. You don't know. Is he mad? Is he not? Is this all in his head? Whereas in the TV show, it's already pretty much set in stone from episode 1 with Leland Goins, who kind of clocks him and goes, I reckon he's a time traveller because I saw him in 1987. And it's just kind of expressly known by everyone that this time travel thing exists.
But then...
Well, everyone, all the characters that are in the know, as it were.
But then the whole Bruce Willis thing, you needed to have that because you didn't have to sustain it because the film was only
an hour and a half,
2 hours
long.
No,
and I very much understand that. Also, as well, she never saw him disappear, if you like, as she does in
quite. She didn't take much convincing because he disappeared back to the future.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think in order to maintain any integrity, to have a character throughout the entire run of, I think it's 13 episodes, isn't it? The entire run of the Senate, not know whether what they're doing is actually really happening or if they're completely nuts. That would wear pretty thin after a while.
Oh, it would, but maybe for them to have touched on it a little bit more than they did. Well, I don't think they touched on it at all. I know I said that was going to be my final point, but I did just remember one other thing I wanted to say about it. Do you remember we have discussed the Ghostbusters reboot with the girls? Okay?
Yes.
Now, your big point
and
about...
the guys.
I mean, your big point about the Ghostbusters, you know, either one of these reboots or rehashes, whatever we want to call them, is, you know... If you're
Why?
If you're going to get a cast of women to do this, and it's not set in this universe, why not call it something else? Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of how I feel about this. I think the story is really interesting. I think, as much as I don't think Aaron Stanford is great, I think he's probably going to grow into it more and more as the episodes go on. I think the rest of the cast is very good. I don't really feel that they needed to have it in any possible way linked to 12 Monkeys. I think it was a strong enough story on its own. I think they'd have got away with it as an original piece. It's almost as if they've written this original piece and gone, do you know what? What we've written really echoes 12 Monkeys.
That may be the case. I can't speak for it. To me, they would be missing a trick if they didn't tie it into 12 Monkeys, because I would imagine what they did is somebody came up with an idea and said, you know what? 12 Monkeys was a great film, but by introducing these new elements, we could stretch that out and get a TV series out
at least 2 seasons.
Yeah. However, we're going to get a lot more bums on seats if we do call it 12 Monkeys, because fans of the film will come in. I mean, how many new TV series do you get these days that the premise looks pretty good, but there's so bloody much out there that you see a lot of good stuff fall and falter and disappear after one season. Whereas you're kind of guaranteeing yourself at least part of an audience by using the love for a film and apply that to a TV series. I think it's just, you know, do I agree with it? Maybe not. I mean, I've always said that I'm not a big fan of reboots and rehashes, but I think that they've made it different enough, but tied in enough in order to pull in sort of at least part of the original audience and try and get them engaged, and then sell it on the new concept, which is the multiple jumping, going back to one time puts you on a completely different timeline. And I just think that's a clever concept. I'll stick with it. I'm enjoying it thus far.
I think for me the 4th episode
killed it for you.
Killed it for me. It was just too slow, yet at the same time tried to pack too much in. It was... and please don't get me wrong, I thought the pilot was really, really good.
The only thing that I would say I'm iffy about is Dr. Rayleigh.
Amanda Schull.
Yeah, I'm not buying her.
She's a bit wishy-washy,
yeah,
isn't
she isn't the strong character that needs to be. She's no Madeline Stowe, whatever.
Madeline Stowe, no, definitely not. She's definitely no Madeline Stowe. I mean, for me, I'm going to stick with the... I mean, this is the beauty of things like this. I'm going to stick with the original film and have that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, people who want to dig on this, you know, please by all means do. But for me, I don't think I'll be going past what I've seen, because it just didn't do it for me at all. Although a very strong pilot. Who's to say that the episodes further down the line might not get better? And they probably will. And good luck to it. It's nice to see something like that out there anyway.
Yeah, as I say, it's a good time for this sort of thing. You know, for being a geek, having so many great films and so many TV series that are based on films, comics, you name it, stuff you love, and you're able to experience it in a different medium. Yeah. I'm all for that, and long may it continue. Yeah. And it's funny, I was chatting to somebody the other day who listened to a couple of our earlier episodes and said, it's interesting because for 2 supposed lifelong friends, you 2 don't agree on much.
No.
And it's true, and I think us 2, we share a love of a great many things, but we have very, very different opinions on a great many others. And I think that that's healthy, because at the end of the day, we both have our opinions. It doesn't make either of us right or wrong. It just means that we can have interesting debates and discussions like this.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, one final thing I'll say regarding 12 Monkeys, if anything good comes out of it, then it'll be maybe some people who haven't seen the original movie will go back and watch
it. Absolutely. This is it.
Because I cannot...
The door swings both ways.
It does indeed, especially in your house. I cannot say enough how much of a fabulous film it is. I mean, Terry Gilliam is an absolute genius.
Yep.
So, long may TV shows like this reign, as you say.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Cool. Well, I think that's it for another episode. So, for myself, Graham.
And myself, Scott.
Thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.